Hello everyone, this is Hugo from Ichiban Painting, and today we're going to be looking at the class and sexiness of this beast here, which every Fortune 500 business owner and CEO should have at their disposal. Are you ready? Here it is, the style and refinement that every Fortune 500 business owner should own to put as an accessory for their suit. No, I'm just kidding. This is the evolution from Harder and Steenbeck. So we're going to be looking at it a little bit more closely. So basically when you buy it, you get this cardboard cover on top of the box. Cardboard cover comes with its own instruction manual in many languages that tells you how the airbrush works and troubleshooting it. Then it comes in with a case. If you've seen my video about the Ultra from Harder and Steenbeck, you see that the case are a little bit more exclusive. So there's latches. You can open the case, and then after that you're presented with a beautiful case like so. This is the Evolution CRplus, so there's nothing that comes in here. But normally, if you would actually buy an Evolution 2-in-1, which is a kit that they have, it would come with a bigger cup like this, which is a 5 milliliter cup. This is the 2 mil cup, and it would have an extra set of needle. But the one that I have right now is the Evolution CRplus, which doesn't come as a 2-in-1. So we're gonna look at the airbrush a little bit more closely. So basically, the Evolution from Harder and Steenbeck comes in many different models. We have the Evolution Solo, which is $135. $131. Then we have the Evolution 2-in-1, which is $178 US. Then we have the Evolution X Solo, which is a version of this one with a cup underneath it. Basically, the Solo is just one needle and one nozzle. The 2-in-1 is a kit that comes with 2 needles and 2 nozzle sets and 2 cup set, the one that I just showed you that would be in the box. The Evolution X Solo is what we call a bottom feed airbrush. Then after that you have the Evolution X 2-in-1, which is basically the same thing but with 2 needles. Then we're moving on to the Evolution Silver Line Solo, which is the same airbrush but like all in one color, all silver, and it has at the back end here it has an adjustment for your needle to block it. But we're gonna look at it a little bit closer a little bit later in the video. Then you have the Evolution Silver Line 2-in-1. Basically, again, 2-in-1 means that there's 2 cups and 2 needles and 2 nozzle. Then you have the Evolution Silver Line M, which is a side feed or a bottom feed airbrush. No, it's both are side feed, yeah. 2 are side feed airbrushes. Then you have the Evolution Silver Line 2-in-1 FPC, which basically has the little thing in the back to adjust your needle to block it and always have the same paint flow. And it comes with an FPC valve, which is a fine pressure valve that you fine pressure control valve that is here that you can turn and adjust the airflow. And then after that we have the Infinity CRplus that comes in 3 versions, which is basically the 0.15 millimeter needle and nozzle set, the 0.2 millimeter fine line nozzle set, and the 0.4. This is the 0.2 here. So prices starting at the Evolution Solo, which is $131. Then after that you have the Evolution 2-in-1 is $178. The Evolution X Solo is $131 also. The 2-in-1 X is $178. Then when you're talking about the Silver Line is just a little bit more expensive than the standard Evolution, which is $34 instead of $131, and the 2-in-1 is $181. Then they also have a crazy model, which is the Evolution CRplus Twin Action, which basically is 2 airbrushed together, but this is not the kind of airbrushes that you will never need for modeling. And then when we're moving on into the Evolution CRplus, which is this one, it's a little bit more expensive than the other ones. They are $190 for any model, so anyone with the 0.15 mil needle, 2 or 4 mil 0.4 mil needle. So this is the range for the Evolution. This is a higher hand airbrush. Okay, if you looked at my review of the Ultra, the Ultra is their entry range model. The Evolution CRplus and the Evolution range is the one that is above, which is a high-end airbrush. After the Evolution, with the step above is the Infinity, which is their, for say, the flagship model or the big daddy that has all the bells and whistles. So we're gonna compare the two because the Infinity is the one that is above the Evolution. So let's just look at what are the differences between the CRplus, the Evolution and the Infinity. So right off the bat, both airbrush comes with a quick release adapter. Then both airbrush comes with the same trigger type, which is a really comfortable trigger. Both airbrush comes with a screw-in cup that you can adjust with different size. Both airbrushes in the silver line comes with the fine they say fine line needle guard here, which is basically a needle guard where you actually see your needle all the time, so it's really easy to know where you're going to be spraying, compared to a full cap here that you don't see your needle. So if there's clogging up on the needle, or if you know, you cannot be aware of the exact positioning of your needle. Both the Infinity and the Evolution CRplus comes with this one. I don't know, I think that the standard Evolution comes with a full cap, but I'm not really quite sure about that, so don't quote me on this. So the right off the bat, there's not a lot of differences. The differences that you're gonna see right off the bat are on the back cover here, which is a standard back cover for the Evolution CRplus, which is profiled just to fit better in your hand. And on the Infinity, you see that you have an opening here to adjust the needle nut, and this nut here, which is a trigger nut. And then here we have the back adjustment to block your needle. The CRplus doesn't come with this, so these are the two main differences that you're gonna see between those two airbrushes. So basically the CRplus, the Evolution will not, you're not gonna be able to adjust your trigger from it, so it's a trigger right off the box. That's the trigger you're gonna get, which is perfect. It's still really smooth and really comfortable and easy to manipulate, compared to the Infinity, that you, by using this nut here, you're going to be able to adjust the trigger to your liking and to your specification. So if you want a harder trigger or softer trigger, you're going to be able to adjust it. And this one has the nut that I was talking in the back that you can press, which will lock your needle at a point that you set previously, and then that way if you pull that thing out, then you're going to be able to move it. The Evolution silver line comes with a nut screw in the back, but it's not a press fitting screw like this. Like this one, you press it to engage it, it's engaged, and you can adjust it to the liking you want, and when you want to disengage it, you just pull it out. The Evolution FPC comes with the screw in thing, but when you want to disengage it, you have to actually unscrew it. So it's a little bit less precise, but still in the same kind of principle. You could also buy the back protector here. For that, there's no problem. You could buy it separately from the CRplus, or you could actually buy the one from the Evolution, if I'm not mistaken, the Infinity, if I'm not mistaken, and you could put it on. All the parts are interchangeable for that, so there's no problem. So let's look at the CRplus, and let's take it apart and look what's inside. Okay, so basically for the takedown, really easy as most airbrushes. You take the back cap out, and you carefully, again, I say it in each of my video review of airbrush, you're gonna carefully take your needle out. You don't want to pull it too fast. You just want to make sure that it's really careful, because people bend their needles when they put the needles inside the airbrush, or when they're taking it out, or when they're resting the needle for cleaning. So you want to rest your needle on a perfectly flat surface, and you want to put it far away from where, this is not flat, that's not that good. You want to put it far away from your working space, or where you have your hands, because a lot of people, sometimes they put pressure on the needle, and that's where they bend the needle. And after that, the CRplus comes with a back block. My hands are a little bit wet. I'll do this off camera. Here we go. Had a little piece of cloth. So the back block comes in one section. That's fantastic. I love this, makes it really easy to break it down. Then the trigger assembly is the same thing, comes in one piece. You don't have to fiddle with 39 pieces. No, not 39, but you know what I mean. The pressure cups comes out, and then after another pressure cup, the paint cup comes out, and then after that, when you take here, you have your needle, your nozzle, and your needle guard and needle protector that comes in part. So this is the breakdown of the airbrush. Inside here you have your trigger, that if you unscrew this part, and not your trigger, your valve, if you unscrew this part, you're going to be able to access the valve. Really easy to access this area in the back because the whole back block comes apart. If you watch my review of the Ultra, which is a lower end airbrush from Harder and Steenbeck, this section is not doesn't come out per se, so it's a little bit harder to accessed. What is different with the Evolution CRplus and the normal Evolution is basically the coating. One of the major things is the coating. Harder and Steenbeck, they used to have a nickel plating, but on their Evolution or on the standard Infinity, they have a nickel plating outside, which some people had a reaction, not per se a reaction on their hand, but a reaction that the airbrush would actually change color. And I do think that my airbrush didn't suffer from that. If you can see here, this is not just wear and tear, it's basically change color where I hold my airbrush. So I do think that maybe my Infinity got suffered from this flaw, but basically it's just an aesthetic thing. So to make sure that this doesn't happen again, what they did with the CRplus models, that it's also available for the Infinity, they did a triple coating of nickel for the inside of the airbrush, and then the outside of the airbrush is chrome plated, just to make sure that there was going to be no reaction whatsoever. Another difference between the Evolution CRplus and the normal Evolution is that this one here, instead of having only one seal, needle seal, because when you insert your needle you want to have a seal in this area just to make sure that the paint doesn't go back. It has 3 just to make sure that you have a perfect seal over there. You're never going to bring paint here except if you're really not careful. So these are the major differences that you're going to see with the Evolution. Harder and Steenbeck do have airbrushes with a lot of seals. As you can see here, there's a seal for the paint cup. There's a seal here, or an O-ring here on the needle, on the nozzle guard or needle guard. There's a seal here on the nozzle itself, and there's the seals that I talked about inside the airbrush here. You don't have to worry about it. These seals are thinner resistant. The only thinner that I had problems with my seal was the Tamiya stuff, the Tamiya airbrush cleaner. But you have to take in mind that the Tamiya stuff, I don't know why, because I tried it with White Spirit in my airbrush and I had no problem with White Spirit and everything, but the Tamiya airbrush cleaner is a nasty thing. Just to show you an example how nasty it is, I had my box of my Infinity and I had some airbrush cleaner on a towel that was sitting on the box, and it actually ate the box. So, you know, even hard plastic, it eats it up. So be careful if you ever put some Tamiya airbrush cleaner in that thing. You might have some weird results, because that thing is nasty. But everything else, White Spirit, normal airbrush cleaner from Vallejo, for example, like this, or if you're using Windex to clean your airbrush, you will never have problem. If you're always careful and you clean your seals, you won't have to change them. If you do have to change them, they come in kits that you can buy where you can change all the seals in the airbrush. With that, there's no problem. Okay, so this black block, if you would want to take it apart, it's really easy. You take the tightening screw for the needle and you just take it apart, and you have your spring here. I could give you a little bit of a trick if you're not totally satisfied with your trigger, but I would not recommend it 100% because it could void your guarantee and everything, because these airbrush are guaranteed for 10 years if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check that in the following segment. But you could actually pull the spring out which is going to give you a little bit more resistance if you're wanting that, or if you want a little bit of a smoother trigger, you could actually cut a couple of rings out of the spring, which will make your trigger a little bit smoother. But like I said, I don't recommend this guarantee warranty wise, because I'm pretty sure it's going to void your warranty, but you would still be able to adjust it. So if you have a cheap Chinese airbrush, you could actually do that trick. Okay, so let's put the bad boy back together. Just before we do that, same thing as the other review I did for the Harder & Steenbeck Ultra. Incredible trigger system that they have, which sits with a ball joint. It's a ball joint that you have, and the back piece here is in one block, and it's attached to the trigger itself. So this is incredible, because if you have other company, especially the cheaper airbrush, they don't come with a trigger system like that. They come with a figgly part in the back. They come with an hinge system, which gives you side motion that you don't want to have on your trigger. This airbrush has this system here, which will eliminate the side motion. The ball joint fits directly on the valve itself inside the airbrush, which will give you really fine tuning and fine adjustment that you can do with a little bit of control of your trigger, which is incredible and really nice. The other kind of system, because you have the hinge and the pin that goes inside of the trigger, there's resistance here naturally because of the rubbing parts, and which will actually take a little bit off of your fine precision. So let's put the bad boy back together. Okay, time to put back this airbrush together. And like I would say, Harder & Steenbeck airbrushes come with a limited 10-year warranty. So basically, everything that is here, if there's a default or if something break or if something is not to what it's supposed to be, you can get in contact with them and they will probably replace those parts. Except the O-rings and the needles and the nozzle, these are parts that have normal wear, but for everything else, it should be alright. So you have a 10-year limited warranty, and you have to get in contact with them if you have a problem with your hairbrush. So basically, when you want to put the puppy back together, what I like to do is I like to start with the front. So I put my needle guard, nozzle protector, or whatever. I don't know what's the technical term for this crown cap or something. They call it a crown cap or a fine pressure, fine precision, I don't know. So basically, you put that part back together. Look at the trigger. That's what I was talking about. No fucking around, no messing around. You just take this one, you put it back. It's done. See, it's there. No problem. How fast is that, right? Then after that, you take your back block here, and you just screw the back block back in together. Again, you see how quick it is, how easy it is. Other airbrushes with like 4 or 5 or 6 parts here. Then you want, before putting back your needle, again, I say this all the time when I do an airbrush video, you want to make sure that your trigger is sitting properly on the valve, and you want to make sure that the back screw that tightens the needle normally is unscrewed, because if your trigger is not sitting properly, the holes are not going to align. When you're going to insert your needle, it's going to hit it and it's going to bend. If your needle nut here is not unscrewed, the same thing is going to happen. So when both are checked and you know that everything is alright, you want to reinsert your needle carefully until the needles go sit in the nozzle. And after that, you want to screw this back part here, check the action, make sure everything is moving properly, and you want to put the back cap on, and you are done, mister. And you can screw your paint cup. So basically, this is the breakdown and the Evolution CRplus. Wonderful airbrush. I mean, again, for the price, depending on what your, what your needs are, the prices, they still have a good variant of prices. If you really want to go for the cheapest available, you go for the Evolution Solo. Which comes with a 0.2mm needle. It's not the CRplus version, but still it's $131. Still really affordable for getting a high-end airbrush. There's not a lot of company that offers a high-end airbrush for that cheap. Then after that, if you want to get a CRplus that has the extra seals and that has this finish, you're talking about $190, which is the most expensive Evolution out there. But then you can still, you know, if you want to have the versatility and have 2 needles set, then you can go with the Infinity 2-in-1, the Evolution 2-in-1, which is $178, which is still very, very affordable for a higher end airbrush that comes with 2 needles and 2 nozzles, which is going to give you more versatility in terms of line and what you're going to be doing. Personally, I use a 0.4 millimeter needle and nozzle set for base coating and things like that, and then when I want to go into a little bit of more detail, or I want to have more control with my line, I use a 0.1 or a 0.2. So right off the bat, if you would buy the Evolution 2-in-1, it comes in with a 0.2 millimeter needle and nozzle set and a 0.4, so you would have the 2 go-to needles to be able to do most of the job that you are required to do with an airbrush when you're talking about the miniature world. So very, very, very good airbrush. If you want to take it, if you want to go an extra step and go for his big daddy, which is the Infinity, I will have a video up on the Infinity a little bit later this week. The Infinity price range are for the Infinity CRplus, which comes in a 0.15, a 0.2, and a 0.4 nozzle millimeter nozzle set. You're looking at $242 for the 0.15, $237 US for the 0.2, and $237 US for the 0.5. And then if you want to go for the Infinity CRplus 2-in-1, which comes with a 0.5 millimeter nozzle and a 0.4 nozzle and needle, 2 mil cup and 5 mil cup with the lids, it's $302. So if you're looking at the standard Infinity, you can pay about $212, and the Infinity 2-in-1 you can, which is not the CRplus model, which this one is actually the 2-in-1, it's $275 US plus shipping. So I think that if you look, I'll put a link to a website that sells those airbrushes, and I think that shipping, yeah, shipping is usually under $6. On the way, and anyway, the shipping is pretty cheap if you are in the US, and if you're abroad all around the world, you can still get a pretty decent rate for shipping. So basically that concludes my Evolution CRplus review. Some people have asked me which one do I prefer, because I do own the 2, you know, the Evolution and the Infinity. Basically I don't have a preference in terms of, yeah, I always use the Infinity, I always use the Evolution. Both are really, really good. The trigger right off the bat on the Evolution is incredible. It's really, really nice. So I always use both. Basically the setup that I have, this one is set up with a 0.4 millimeter needle right now that I had from another kit that I put in, and this one is set up with a 0.2 millimeter needle. So basically I will use my Evolution when I want to do some base coating or work that requires a bigger spray pattern, and then after that, when I want to do more precise work, I go with my Infinity, just because of the options of being able to set my preset for my paint flow and everything on the back adjustment here, and just because it's a little, I don't know, that's my most expensive airbrush that I have in my house, so I want to do the most precise work with it. Weight wise, a little thing before I forget, weight wise I think the Infinity is a little bit lighter, but this is a maybe an impression that I have, but I think the Infinity is slightly a little bit lighter than the Evolution. And another thing is the Infinity is a little bit more quieter than the Evolution, because it uses a little bit less air to operate than the Evolution. I don't know why. Maybe both are the same, but I have the feeling that the Infinity is a little bit more quieter. But basically that's pretty much it. So look forward to the full review on the Infinity from Harder and Steenbeck, although I did talk about it a lot, but I will go more in detail with it. And this was the Evolution CRplus, and I really hope that if you're looking for a higher end airbrush but still are on a pretty tight budget and you don't want to go all out with the Infinity, the Evolution, the standard Evolution or the CRplus will be an extremely good choice for you guys. It's a beast, it's sexy, it's nice. Harder and Steenbeck, in my opinion, does some of the best airbrushes on the market, and they do the best airbrush in terms of design and sexiness. I mean, this is sexy. But you don't buy an airbrush because it's sexy, of course, but it is. So this was Hugo from Ichiban Painting. Please like this video and don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet, and I will see you guys on the next video. Cheers for watching.